have to talk to you guys about Top Gun, man.
You've seen the movie?
Oh yeah, man.
Oh hell yeah! All right, good.
It's amazing.
Isn't it great?
It's great. It's worth the long wait.
I know.
Worth the long wait. I mean, not just the last couple of years, but 36 years if you want to count it that way.
Yeah.
But even they've been making it so long. But I mean, for you guys, just seeing it pushed around and moved around date wise. How was that for both of you? Like, was it tough to see it keep getting pushed back and pushed back? Both of you had.
But I'll just say this for the gang, the young guns. We're all on this group text that is the most active group text I have in my life. And it's just you start hearing rumbles of things getting pushed before they get pushed, and it's like, I hope it's not happening again. Is it happening? And it's the hard part is, I think, everyone knows that this movie is going to, help our lives and careers and those sort of things. And I think every time it gets pushed, it feels like you're getting dressed for a wedding that'll never come. Mm-hmm. And I feel that I'm so glad this run that we've been on has been surreal. The fact that we've gotten to go to San Diego and Cannes and London Royal and just to show people the way that this movie was supposed to be shown.
Yeah.
Tom's patience completely paid off. But I will say, while it was happening, every time it got pushed was definitely an emotional blow.
Yes, especially the first time, because like you said, we knew this was a huge movie and a lot of eyes were going to be on it, and some of us are new actors, so we're like, okay, yeah, our face is finally going to be out there for the general public to see. So it was very exciting to say, yes, it's coming out. And when it got pushed, it was like a stab in the heart. It was heartbreaking. It happened a few times. It became a joke, almost oh, we're going to get pushed again.
Totally. Well, the other thing is what also is different is, I will say this: we saw this movie at the very beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Right, we saw this movie April, somewhere around 2020.
Yes,
right, early 2020, and it was we knew we had the goods.
Yeah,
right. So you knew we were sitting on something really great, which I can't tell if it made it more frustrating or if it made it where I was hey, let's wait till everybody can see it, or if it was I just want people to see this movie. It was sort of in the middle of those two.
Yeah. Were you both fans of the original movie before you got into this?
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge action film lover, so this was something completely different from what I was used to seeing. I was so used to seeing car chases and explosions and hand-to-hand combat, fist fighting and stuff like that.
They really don't make this kind of movie anymore, do they?
No, they don't. They do not make these type of movies at all. So to see Top Gun take place in the air, I thought that was very unique, very wow, this is cool, but it wasn't something that I thought that I'd be a part of, flying in an F-18. I just didn't think that was possible. So I'm glad that we were able to make a film like this that, I don't know, it feels like a back-in-the-day film, but at the same time it's very current, and it's something for everybody.
Yeah, this is... It's really true. It's people keep saying it, but they don't make movies like this anymore. And they also don't make movies like this very often, is because the likelihood that you'll pull it off is so small. I mean, Tom always used the phrase, this is going to be like hitting a bullet with a bullet. The odds of success are so small, but the people believe the odds of success are going to be small.
Yeah.
And he goes, we are just going to have to be relentless every day to make sure that we deliver the movie that we know is possible. And what's so interesting about it is this phrase that Tarzan's heard me say a million times, but I love it. It's, pressure is a privilege. Mm-hmm. And it's something Tom said early on in the movie, and it kind of became like a rally cry in my opinion, just because it's the idea when there's expectations on a movie like this, when it does mean something to people. I mean, this movie is one of the reasons I became an actor. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it really meant something to me. And to go into a process knowing the odds are stacked against you, but you're going to do something, if you do this right, it's going to thrill audiences all over the world. The fact that we hit that bullet with a bullet is the most fulfilling thing ever.
It's almost like, I don't know, let you go, but it's almost like you knowing, like you said before, there's movies that you make and you don't know that they're going to be iconic until it comes out and everybody loves it, and then years later you're like, wow, that was an iconic thing we did. We knew that you do this wrong, then you're going to get a lot of stuff for it, a lot of bad stuff for it. But if you do this right, we're making an iconic film. And I'm glad to say I think we did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along those lines, the production, which we've all seen featurettes and all this sort of stuff about how things were, but you're already going into it with all these expectations. How was the production? It looks insane. It looks like it was pretty crazy. But was it? I'll start with you, and I want to hear from you as well. Was it what you expected, or was it a heck of a lot more?
Movies are always magic tricks. There's always the movie magic around something. But almost always when you're shooting something like this, you're on a gimbal on the ground with a little ambient smoke, a little lighting effects, things like that. You're not actually taking the ride that they're taking in the movie. And that's the craziest part is that's what actors do, is you pretend things are visceral and intense and all that stuff, and they build all the stuff around you to make that feeling, give that feeling to the audience. Now in this movie, the hard part was not necessarily having to act the performance up in the air. That is truly high octane, it's visceral, it's intense, it's all those things. The hard part was to make sure that feeling that we were feeling up there read for the audience.
Wow.
It was as intense in camera as it felt.
Yeah.
For instance, what I thought was really interesting is on those IMAX cameras, those cameras are perched at a very specific place. They had to shave lenses down to fit everything into this small little cockpit. And the angles of those cameras and where they're placed, we had to get lower and lower and lower to the ground to give proper ground rush.
Yeah.
So that you would feel the intensity.
Wow.
Even though we're flying under 100 feet on some of these runs, 50 feet. I think Tom flew 30 feet on that one run. But you're flying so low, and yet the camera's still not reading it. So we had to get closer to canyons. We had to get lower. We had to go faster to make sure that even the environment was interacting with our plane and its speed. So that was the interesting part is making the audience feel what we were feeling. The acting up there is easy at the end of the day,
Is it true you guys were kind of like directing yourselves inside the cockpits? Is that what was kind of going on? Really?
Yeah, we you can't fit a camera crew, you can't fit a
Right.
director inside of the
of
cockpit.
course.
It's only
The
you and the
guy
pilot.
on the way.
Exactly. You can't do that. So yeah, we were up there by ourselves, and we were briefed. We would have briefings before and after each flight, and Tom, set us up for victory when teaching us like lighting and where we should position when we're saying certain lines, because the sun will be hitting at this point of the day compared to this point, and make sure we hit the camera and how we should have our continuity with our costume and stuff like that, and tapping our mic. So we had a detailed plan on our leg, a notepad where we would write down, okay, at this point this is what needs to be said and this is how it needs to be done and whatnot. And I thought that was very interesting. It was very challenging at the same time because you're up there by yourself, and as an actor you want to know that you're doing it correctly so you
Right.
can continue to okay, that wasn't done, all right, I can improve in this way, okay, I did it this way, I can do it that way. But we're up there for an hour and a half, 2 hours by ourselves, just hoping like, okay, did I get it? So you're doing many different variations. It's like, god dang, did I do what more can I do? And there's no direction. So it was really cool that we were given the responsibility to basically say, hey, you're the filmmaker now. We trust you enough to go up there in the air and get the content that we need. And being up there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, we would all come back down and debrief. And all they were looking for was like that one moment. So that made you feel good out of that long stretch that like, okay, if I can give you that one moment, then it wasn't wasted time or wasted money in the air. It was a great experience, I'll tell you that.
No other actor that I've seen in my years of watching movies gets ready for a movie quite like Tom Cruise does. Like the way I've seen it.
Yeah.
How intense was the training that he must have put you guys through? Was it?
I'm so grateful for the training that he put us through because it made us. There's no way we could have pulled off acting in the back of those planes the way we did without that flight training.
Right.
I mean, F-18, flying the back of an F-18 and the aggressive way that we're flying, it is like it's being in a fight. I mean, you are just like you're trying to just keep blood in your head and stay awake and try to keep your eye on, and you have so much to think about in addition to all the variations of lines and making sure the continuity is right. Like there were moments, remember like early on in the flight thing, there was somebody like flew, but the sun was in the wrong place.
Yep.
Like it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be here or something, and it was like here. Unusable footage doesn't match. So it was one of those things. Like when you think about even little tiny moments like that, you have to be so aware of your surroundings. And Tom, again, is the most prepared guy ever. In addition to just making sure that we felt like pilots, read like pilots, looked authentic as Top Gun pilots, he made sure, he was like, hey, when you're up there, we had like little like lip gloss things to give sweat, make it look sweat on our brow. Because sometimes we're flying in really cold temperatures, but it's supposed to be hot.
Yeah.
We're flying in the desert in February, and it's freezing, but we're supposed to be sweating in the desert. So you have to add sweat. You have to make sure your visor's clean, that certain things aren't reflecting in the visor that shouldn't be there, that masks and straps and all that stuff were correct, and just continuity. And then in addition to that, running the camera, the thing that always gave me anxiety is you have to hold this button. You have to hold the button, and you have to hold it for a certain amount of time. But remember, they didn't have an indicator on the camera.
If it was on or
so
off.
if it was on or on. And so there were times where you hit it, and you're like, did I hold it long enough?
Yep.
Am I not recording when I think I'm recording? And is when I think I'm doing my performance, am I shutting off the camera?
It's funny, all the stuff you're talking about that sounds so advanced, and it's like this little thing.
No, totally, we're up there. But this is what I'm saying. They had to. You have the best minds in the business working on this thing, and yet when you're up there, little things like that. It reminds me of like an Apollo space launch. You're like, wait, we got all the way there, and we don't have this. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like little things like that. That because at the end of the day, the thing that Tom really instilled in us is you are the pilot in command up there. You are the director. You are the star. You are everything. And however you get that footage, whatever it takes, it's you and that pilot communicating to make sure that you get everything up there, because you get one shot at it.
And you want to come home with,
with the goods.
With the goods. You want to come home with the goods. The training itself was very important. And Tom, I think that's what I've taken away from him, is the preparation, always being prepared. And he's the type of person that will go detail by detail to make sure that you are prepared in the best situation. Yeah. So I was never scared in the F-18. I don't think anybody was ever scared in the F-18, because he had prepped us leading up to it, like flying in a Cessna, to get comfortable being in the air, then the extra 300 being comfortable pulling G's, and then an L-39, which was comparable to the F-18. So we were very comfortable in that regard. It was everything else was just like, I'm glad we had this training, and we were, it became automatic. We was on autopilot when it came down to like pulling G's and stuff. So we were able to focus on stuff like, even like cloud cover. Like, okay, we got to find a patch of light that will match this. And there was a time where I know I went up and it was so cloudy that there was only this one small patch of light. So we're trying to stay in that patch of light the entire time and whatnot. That was an experience.
Yes. And also knowing how the edit works. Like Tom was teaching us how they're going to edit. Like, do you remember he played like this one actual radio chatter from these Navy guys who were actually in a serious dogfight. Yeah. You can hear the desperation in their voice and how they're communicating. Yeah. He's like, this is the energy I want. He's like, hey, this edit in this movie, it's going to piece together like this. Really training us on how they were seeing the movie, so that we could match that up there, because we're not seeing the same movie. If we're not all flying the same direction, we're going to be making a different movie, and then that footage is not going to be usable. So that team aspect, and even just getting the Navy folks on board on that, like Tom was leading these briefings in front of everybody, the whole crew, the Navy, and talking about what these flights look like. So by the time we got up there, again, he's like, walk me through your lines. How are you going to read them? What are the alts you're going to give? What's the airspeed? What's the altitude? Where's the sunlight?
Before getting up there, do you remember the rig that we had inside the little tent? It was a wooden.
It's called a buck.
A buck.
It's on the ground.
So before we would get up there, we'll do the briefings on what we'll do up there. Then we'll have to go into this little wooden makeshift F-18 buck. And you about to put it up?
Yeah, I'm going to put it back. That was a video of a party on. Let me just. All right, keep going. Okay. I'm just going to show him the buck.
Yeah. So we're in the buck and we're imitating, and the director sitting there saying, okay, the light needs to be here for this. So, you need to be here, and this is where we want you to say this line. Make sure you're looking here, and all of this other stuff. And you can improvise a little here and there. But it was very detailed. It was detailed to the science.
Yeah. It's really amazing when you look at
incredible
those like little moments, and you're like, wow, we were like in a wooden. Oh my God! Oh, here's the wooden buck. This is Miles and Joe, and this is the wooden buck.
Oh, yeah.
Wow! So that's what you practice your lines in to see how things are reading. So he will like shoot like random little frames and things like that with the stuff and just making sure everything's gonna piece together.
That's amazing.
Isn't that wild?
This whole thing sounds incredible. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.